Is the poll-obsessed press starting to write off Donald Trump? I put that question to Trish Regan, host of the Intel Report at 2 Eastern on Fox Business from New York. Trish Regan, welcome.
Hey, Howie, good to see you.
Let's start with the polling prognosticators. Nate Silver says that Hillary Clinton has an 87% chance of winning this election. New York Times Upshot blog, a little more pessimistic. Hillary has only an 86% chance of winning this election. Everybody writes off the latest polls. Could these numbers and the coverage become a self-fulfilling prophecy against Donald Trump?
You know, I've been thinking about that a lot, Howie, and that's why we as journalists need to be extraordinarily cautious, I think, over the next several weeks as we get closer to November, because keep in mind, anything can happen, right? You think back to Dukakis, 1988, he was actually ahead in the polls in August, but wound up nowhere near the Oval Office. So in other words, the onus is on us as journalists to be cautious about not effectively making this a fait accompli.
I could not agree more. Now, what about the sheer imbalance in the coverage? I mean, there's absolutely no denying it. You look at any newspaper, websites, most cable shows, it's Trump, 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 and then Hillary is maybe the fourth or fifth story.
Well, you know, part of that is because Trump's selling papers, right, or landing ratings on television networks. Yeah. So the media likes to cover Trump. But I think one thing that I find frustrating in the process is that there's not enough policy coverage. It's all just sort of, what did he say lately? And so there's a hesitancy on the part of the media to actually dive into the nuts and bolts of what he's talking about versus what Hillary Clinton's talking about. And instead, it becomes very much about the horse race and very much about just what the latest faux pas was, shall we say, on the campaign trail.
Or the latest insult or the latest flap. But you set me up for my next question by bringing up policy. So this week, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump both gave major economic speeches. Now, if you're not working for a business network, my sense is they got a half day of coverage, maybe a little bit more. But is there a tendency by particularly political journalists to shy away from the details of tax plans and estate tax and marginal tax rates and carried interest because it's hard to explain, particularly on television?
Yeah, I'll go a step further. I think a lot of them just don't even understand it, Howie. And they choose not to understand it, and they deliberately shy away from getting into the nuts and bolts of tax policy because it's just, frankly, too complicated for them. And I think that's a very, very sad thing. It is incredibly important that we take on the responsibility of making sure that we understand all of these policies, especially on the economy. I mean, think about it. This is the biggest issue in this election. And we need change when it comes to the economic future because our economy is in such a bad state. So what are the things that Hillary Clinton is proposing? What are the things that Donald Trump is proposing? And what will they mean for our economy? And yet no one, frankly, you know, other than us, wants to cover that.
But if they don't understand it or choose not to understand it, isn't it also perhaps a fear that people will turn the dial, that economic policy can be dry and abstract, and let's go to, you know, the latest Donald Trump said Hillary Clinton, the founder of ISIS. I'm going
to tell you, they are so absolutely wrong. I mean, I can tell you, I see it every day on the show. Viewers respond to substance. They really do. And it is short-sighted of members of the media to think that viewers won't care about economic policy because, again, this is the thing that everybody cares about. I mean, how you going to feed your family? How are you going to make sure that your kids have a brighter future than what you have? These are the issues that voters want information on. And so, you know, for the media to say, okay, we're not going to cover that because we don't think it's going to rate, they're wrong.
Let me jump over the last question, about half a minute. So what about the argument that some journalists are making that, you know, Donald Trump, we've never seen a candidate like him. He's always stepping in and he's always saying factually challenged things. Therefore, we need to give him a lot more scrutiny than we give to Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, I think they do give him a lot more scrutiny. I don't think it's because he's stepping in it. I think it's because they don't really like him. And that, in fact, is coloring some of their reporting. What I would recommend is, you know, regardless of what you think of either candidate, it is up to us to scrutinize very carefully both of these folks. And you can't give anyone a pass just because you may like their policies a little more. And I think that we see that from mainstream media quite a bit, Howie.
Or just because one candidate's been around in the political scene for a lot longer. Trish Regan, always great to see you.
Good to see you too, Howie.
Thanks very much.